news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Ed Kalegi. A car slammed into a crowd early Saturday morning in East Hollywood, injuring dozens, including multiple victims transported to local hospitals. The incident occurred around 2 a.m. local time near a nightclub on Santa Monica Boulevard. According to Los Angeles police, the driver was pulled from the vehicle and beaten. He also sustained a gunshot wound, but it was unclear when he was shot. LA Fire Department spokesman Adam Van Gerpen talked about the chaotic scene.
When they arrived on scene, they found that there was a large chaotic scene. There was approximately 30 patients. A vehicle had drove on a sidewalk. It hit a taco truck, a taco stand. It hit a valet stand, and then it crashed into a crowd of people.
Sergeant Horatio Aguirre, the on-duty Central Traffic Division watch commander, tells the Washington Post that the driver had been fighting with several people inside the Vermont Hollywood, a nightclub on Santa Monica Boulevard. The suspect, a Hispanic male, then exited the music venue, got inside his vehicle, and Aguirre says decided for whatever reason that he was going to run over people on the sidewalk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country has proposed holding a meeting with Russia next week, more than a month after the previous round of direct talks. We get more on this from Bloomberg's Denise Pellegrini.
Zelensky says his newly appointed Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council made the proposal to the Russian side. Rustem Umerov, who previously served as defense minister, led the Ukrainian delegation at talks with Russia in June, which resulted in the start of a major prisoner exchange. Zelensky says dynamics of negotiations must be accelerated. Everything must be done to achieve a ceasefire. And he says Ukraine is ready for a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
The Trump administration asked a federal court to unseal grand jury transcripts related to the case of late disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, following claims that government officials were hiding documents and information related to his sex trafficking case. Justice Department lawyers made the requests Friday to two judges in Manhattan, where prosecutors handled separate criminal cases against Epstein and his former associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. It's unclear if courts would grant the administration's request or whether the request will satisfy critics, including some of President Trump's own allies who have demanded more information on the case. Grand jury deliberations are typically kept secret. The judges could also take time to make a decision. A new chapter in President Trump's ongoing pressure on Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Bloomberg's Nancy Lyons has the latest.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell has been under scrutiny by the Trump administration for so-called extravagant spending on renovations at the Federal Reserve headquarters. President Trump has even considered it as grounds for firing Powell. But now we're hearing the marble finishes that have been cited as lavish were added to the plans at the request of three Trump appointees. They said it would better fit the building's historic character. In Washington, Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
The UK is looking to participate in European purchases of U.S. military equipment for Ukraine. Bloomberg's Karen Moscow has more.
UK Defense Secretary John Healey and his German counterpart Boris Pistorius will discuss what role the UK will play in the purchase program during a virtual meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group on Monday. Sources tell Bloomberg the UK's contribution could see it jointly purchasing Patriot air defense systems with Germany or separately buying other weapons and munitions from the U.S. for Ukraine. Both options are said to be under consideration. President Trump over the past week agreed to supply more material to the government in Kyiv, including Patriots, other air defense systems, and munitions, provided they were funded by NATO allies. Karen Moscow, Bloomberg Radio.
Brazil's government is studying potential responses to further sanctions by President Trump, including a limit on dividend payments by U.S. companies with operations in Brazil. This according to O Estado de São Paulo newspaper. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's government is intensifying its deliberations on possible measures after the U.S. government announced it was revoking visas for some Brazilian Supreme Court justices. The history of nutrition science in the U.S. suggests that the Make America Healthy Again movement would make more sense without the A. Were Americans ever really healthy? You can read all about it in Bloomberg's Weekend Edition, exploring the places where finance, life, and culture meet. Find it on Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Ed Kalegi. This is Bloomberg.